time is elastic. Like January 2022 is over. 2022. Like, you never know how fleeting life is until you like stop and think about like how much time has passed and you're like, whoa, 2 years? 5 years? A decade? Time. Better make the most of it while we have it, my friends. Now, this video isn't about some fancy goals, nor is it about some unobtainable New Year's resolution. In fact, this video is not even about any specific goal for any specific year of my life. In fact, the journey that I'm about to start documenting and sharing is me pursuing one of my life's ambitions. And that is to create a life that successfully gives me the ability to escape the ordinary and explore the world. I'm in my 20s and I currently have no idea how I'm going to get this done. Like none whatsoever. And you know what? I don't feel less of a person admitting that to you. Like, I don't have it all figured out. Like, all I know for certain is that I want to see as much of the world as I possibly can while leaving a trail for others to do the same. Because I know I'm not the only person in the world who has this dream, but has no idea how to actualize it, right? Maybe you and I are in the same boat, meaning I believe that if I were to follow the norm, right, and do what everyone else is doing, well then I won't get the opportunity to do the things I really want to do in life with the limited time that I have. And sometimes I feel like I have to make myself small just to fit into these arbitrary roles dictated by society. And I want to just take a breath for a moment and just explore to see if there are alternatives, if they exist. Because I want to dedicate the rest of my life to escaping that feeling of being small. The outcome of this show is going to be binary, right? Like, either I'm going to achieve my goal of escaping the ordinary and exploring the world, or I'm going to come extremely close. And either way, it's to your benefit, because if I win, you can use whatever plan I come up with to leverage that for your own personal life. And if I don't, well then you can learn from my mistakes so that when you pursue your dream, you won't be starting from scratch. You'll be starting from experience. And I think that is a noble ambition. Therefore, I want to share an unpolished version of what it takes me to pursue my dreams start to finish. And in the spirit of full transparency, I want to share with you something that I'm currently dealing with. I've come to the growing awareness that I seem to be living in the conflict of two opposing forces. Feeling like I'm not good enough and feeling like I'm capable of anything. And honestly, it's exhausting. It's like a mental tennis match between two equally skilled opponents. And something has to change. So to lighten the existential load, I decided that I'm going to have to choose one and then drop the other indefinitely. Well, that poses the question, which opponent, like which tennis player wins? Well, for that we have to mix some metaphors here, and let's imagine that those two opposing forces embodied a fire, right? Not feeling like you're good enough and feeling like you're capable of anything. Well, which which of those two forces will develop into the larger fire? Well, it's obviously going to be the one you feed the most. Therefore, I just decided that this year, 2022, and for the foreseeable future, I'm going to release my inner pyromaniac and fan the flames of the voice that says I am capable. Consider this video series as a life experiment, because I am far from the person that I want to be, and that takes a lot. That takes a lot to say out loud. But for this to work, this experiment, I'm going to need to be okay with a level of vulnerability that I've never shown in my entire life. And I'm going to need to develop the intestinal fortitude to withstand that. So ultimately, the goal of this video series, whatever it will evolve to become, is to share with you what it took for me to tool myself into someone capable of achieving my ambitions. Like, I'm going to have to learn new skills. I'm going to have to evolve, and 12 times a year, I'm going to have to sit here and answer one burning question. During this month, did I move closer to or further from my goal? Like, the outcome is binary, right? It's a black or white, yes or no answer, because there are no half measures when it comes to results. And the reason I want to document and share this journey is because when I eventually succeed in creating the life that I want, there will be a record of how it all started. Because we live in a world where we are told more about our limitations than our possibilities. And I want to be a part of changing that narrative. Me, Gabriel Sinclair, want to represent possibility. And if these videos help anyone gain the courage they need to pursue their dreams, well, then I will consider this experiment a success and a noble use of my time. Let's begin. Gabriel, in the month of January, did you move closer to or further from your goals? Let's discuss. I do have some notes, so you have to bear with me, as this video is the first ever, and it's essentially it's a first rough draft. However, I did group the progress for this month into 3 categories, and they are creative pursuits, income goals, and personal development. Okay, number 1. Creative ambitions. My goal of this channel is to become a better storyteller and improve upon the other softer skills like communication, networking, cinematography, creative thinking, all of it. Next, I relaunched my Instagram morning show. I used to do this years ago as I drove across country. I would set up my coffee station at some scenic location and then sip coffee and talked about whatever came to mind. Sometimes I would share ideas I got from books I was reading. In the month of January, I posted 31 times in 31 days. That was my monthly consistency challenge. I'm heavily criticized, because of all the things I struggle with, consistency is definitely up there. It's first place. So I decided that starting January 2022, I will create a monthly consistency challenge where I will do one thing every day for the entire duration of the month. And this month it was upload to my Instagram story every single day. Now, the last update in this category of improvement is I have some space in my basement, and I want to turn that into a productive space where I can record videos, and I want to turn it into a studio down here. I'm currently in my basement, and for the month of February, what I want to set as my consistency challenge is that every single day I'm going to do one thing that turns my basement into a creative space slash studio for video production. Okay, next category is income ambitions. I want to travel, but I currently have no means to do so. Like, I wouldn't say I'm living paycheck to paycheck, but a fairly accurate statement would be that I'm one event away from like photocopying $100 bills to pay rent. Like, my neighbor, I'll give you an example. My neighbor recently, unfortunately, slipped on some ice and fell down 3 steps. Broke his leg. 3 steps. Broke his leg. His leg. Like, this is all it took to mess up his day. So, I'm avoiding ice completely because I can't take that chance. If something like that happened to me, like, I wouldn't be able to work. And if I can't work, well, then I'm going to have to become a full-time YouTuber, which is just another way of saying unemployed. Since I moved from van life into apartment life, my monthly expenses quadrupled. It is insane. And what I do for income is I essentially work 3 part-time jobs. I work as a bartender, I work as a contractor, and I work as an instructor at a gym that I co-founded. I help my friend who owns a corporate cleaning company. Him and his teams clean restaurants and office buildings. And I sat down with him one day and we came up with a plan. So I work at my restaurant job 3 days per week. After work on those days, I drive 20 minutes to my apartment. During that drive, I pass 2 restaurants that he is responsible for cleaning. He gave me the contract to clean both of them. So my typical workday looks something like this. I don't think this camera is good in low light, so I don't know if you can actually see me, but I finished my job, like the bartending job, and now I'm heading over to restaurant number 1, and then once I wrap this place up, restaurant number 2. Finishing up the next restaurant, driving, and then just sleeping. My goal is typically to get home before 3 a.m. each night. Tonight, I will not hit that goal. I need to let you know that I put in my 2 weeks at my bartending job. It wasn't my first choice because it is my staple income. However, it caused the most amount of dysregulation in my life. And like, my sleep schedule is just off. In fact, there were 2 nights this month. There were 2 nights in the month of January where I actually ended up sleeping in my van instead of driving 20 minutes home to my apartment. Because I was just exhausted. Now my last day on the job is tomorrow, which is January 31st. When I handed in my 2 weeks notice, the manager sat me down and was like, hey, listen, I will not be able to take you back because right now people are fighting for hours and I'm going to give away all of your shifts to everyone else. It's like, I need you to know that there's not going to be a place for you if you leave. When he said that, there was like this moment, however brief, where I just silently asked myself a question. Are you certain about this course of action? This is how I looked at it. If I stay in this job, I can certainly pay off my monthly bills, but I certainly won't reach any of my long-term goals. Not with this schedule, because restaurants demand a certain amount of shifts worked per week in order for you to like maintain employment. And I just realized I'm giving away my most productive hours to a corporation that can replace me with virtually anyone else. But my dreams, my personal ambitions, they cannot be replaced. I am the only one who can bring them forth into reality. So if I stay in my job, I essentially have short-term security, but long-term consequences. If I quit my job, I have short-term risk, but long-term potential reward. And that's what the question essentially is. It's like, is the risk worth the reward? And if you really think about it, it has a lot to do with self-trust. Like, do I trust myself enough to effectively utilize and leverage the time that I'm going to be gaining in the month of February to better position myself closer to my life's ambitions? I do. I trust myself enough to know that I will figure it out. And if this actually does end up being the wrong path to take, well, I can always change direction. Like, I can always course correct. But what I cannot change is I cannot change not starting. So I'm just going to have to begin and figure it out as events unfold. And I trust myself enough to do so. I am good enough to make this change, and I definitely want it bad enough because I'm tired of giving away my time at the expense of my dreams. Am I making a mistake? I don't know. I'm not omniscient, but I know for certain that I'm making these sacrifices in January so that the month of February will be better. Okay, now the last category of improvement I wrote down is personal development. When you are striving towards something that you consider meaningful, no step, and I mean no step, is too small if it moves you forward. I have this vision of building an income stream that finances my dream of traveling the world. I had this dream of exploring the world back when I was a kid. It was essentially a call to adventure, and that voice was there long before the voices in the world told me that I'm not good enough. And today, I choose which flame to feed. And it is the voice that says I am good enough and I am capable of creating the life that I want. So in the month of January, I worked 3 part-time jobs that paid my bills. I spent my evenings scrubbing toilets and mopping floors. Is it what I love? Absolutely not. But I believe that it is a step in the right direction, however small. Now, I promised to give you the whole story, the unpolished version. Like, this is real life, and this is what it's going to take for me to achieve my dreams. This is not some ultra-filtered online persona telling you that it's a simple and straight line to the life you want. It doesn't work like that. Like, I don't believe you can have a serious conversation about your life's ambitions without talking about risks and sacrifice, because that is an ineradicable part of the process. I know it's not glorious or flattering right now, but I know that years from now, I'm going to be in a completely different place, like China or Paris, or perhaps Egypt. And I'm going to look back and rewatch this video, and I'm going to say to myself, well, it's the decisions that I made here, today, in January 2022, that has contributed to me now living the life of my dreams. There is a version of me in the future that is grateful for the risks and for the sacrifices that I'm making here today. And I'm going to keep working until I can give that Gabriel the highest